Aaron, thank goodness you're here. It's happening again. People are forgetting and the time rifts are opening. We're needed. Welcome to Clearing Up the Past. I'm Lil Bro Millennium Dave, but you can call me David.
I'm Big Sis Gen Xie, also known as Aaron.
And we're your nostalgia historians covering the best things from the 80s, 90s, and beyond.
So everybody take a chill pill and get ready for a tubular time.
Heck yeah. Aaron, we have not recorded for many a moon since...
It's been a long time.
Since the 1990s, it feels. No, it has been a while, but this is a show that we used to do called Clearing Up the Past. It was part of a different podcast, People versus Happiness, which is really kind of no longer. But we've decided we want to do Clearing Up the Past some more because that was the most fun anyway. So
it was.
Yeah.
It was fascinating.
So I've got some ideas for what we're going to do, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But before we get started, I want to ask you, Aaron, if you had the ability to go back to the 1980s, knowing what you know now, meaning you know about technology, you know everything, would you do it?
In a heartbeat, I would. Would you?
It's hard to say because I have a 2-year-old daughter, and I think I would miss her because I would know that, obviously. And
I wouldn't want to leave my kids.
Yeah, you're like, screw my family. I'll do it in a heartbeat. Forget those fools. Well, besides that, like if you knew you would eventually get back to the point where you had your family again, I guess is a better way to put it. But here's the thing. How freaking boring would it be?
I'm older than you, so I think I see it differently. It would be boring, but so much simpler. I don't know. I miss the simplicity.
Yeah, I get that. And I mean, I think I would do it too, just because the novelty of being able to time travel for one thing. Also, if I could retain some like really big winning lottery numbers, that would be good too.
Definitely.
But no, I mean, playing the video games of the times, in realizing like it's fun now to like go and retro game, but then you can retro game knowing that you can play modern video games. You can watch old movies knowing you can watch movies that are about to come out. And there are a lot of movies that are going to come out soon that I would like to see. And now instead of waiting a year, I would have to wait 40 years. So,
and you can also listen to any song at any time.
That's true.
Back then you had to wait for it to come on the radio or buy the cassette tape. So
right. The on-demand culture is quite a bit different. But what can you expect from Clearing Up the Past? Well, I want to basically make this exactly what I said. We're going to be your nostalgia historians. So we're going to look back at the 80s and 90s primarily, but 2000s, maybe even the 70s, maybe, maybe we'll have some special episodes where we do the 1930s. What do you think about that?
It's all the past. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to clear it up. We got to close those time rifts. People are forgetting. Yeah, I was kind of making.
The present is a result of the past, so.
And what?
The present is a result of the past, so that includes all of the past.
Sounding like some Back to the Future stuff here. I also was kind of referencing the Never-Ending Story when I said people forgetting. We got to make sure they remember, so they're not stuck in this silly modern crap that these kids these days with their rap musics. So, but anyway.
Nothing is what you're saying?
Say what?
It's equivalent to the nothing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, basically. We're fighting the nothing. You're welcome, everybody. You're welcome. Without us, you would be nothing. But, what I want to do is kind of what we did before is take a look at some of our favorite things from those time periods, but take a deeper dive into them and maybe learn some stuff about them. And that's where the nostalgia historian comes into play. Do a little research, talk about what we like about things, but then also talk about some facts about them as well, so we can all learn together. But got some categories that I would like to kind of do 1 or 2 segments of per episode. And we're going to go through those today and just give you kind of our baseline favorites in those categories. And we'll probably have deeper dive episodes on some of the favorites that we talk about today, but just to kind of have a good time and reintroduce the podcast and let you know what to expect. And And there will be fun facts and historical facts, like I said. Like, for example, did you know that John Hughes actually wrote the script to Dumb and Dumber in 1994? But for some reason,
I had no idea about that.
yeah. But for some reason, he got stripped from the project and they rewrote the script. So there you go. Your first clearing up the past fun historical fact.
The more you know.
Yeah, the more you know. And knowing's half the battle. And other 80s quotes and references. So if you're good with it, I say, this is going to be maybe a little bit shorter of an episode. I figure these will probably run 45 minutes to an hour on average, but this one might be a little bit shorter just since it's our first one getting back into the game. And I thought we'd go through the segments that I've thought of that we'll kind of, again, pick one or two per episode and kind of jump into. So let's talk about our favorites in those segments as we go. The first segment that we'll probably be doing, not probably, I know we'll be doing, is music. So that'll be maybe band specific, song specific, album specific. But for mine, I'll start us off. I am going to pick a song. My favorite song from the 80s, and that's like picking your favorite child. Although Erin doesn't have a problem with that. She's ready to abandon them and go back to the 80s. So,
Depends on the day, but yeah.
My favorite song from the 80s, I'm just going to declare it, is Good Enough by Cyndi Lauper.
Oh, Goonies are good enough. It took me a minute.
Goonies are good enough. Isn't it just good enough?
I mean, isn't that I thought the technical title was The Goonies are good. Like, something's in parentheses.
All right. See, we're having our first nostalgia historian fight. I'm going to the database here. Cyndi.
All right. But that's an excellent voice.
Thank you. The Goonies are good enough by Cyndi Lauper.
With an R. Letter R.
With the letter R. Oh, my goodness. It's like or something. The Goonies.
Something.
The Goonies are good enough by Cyndi Lauper. I love the song. Yeah. Every time I hear it, like it gives me cold chills. It transports me back to sitting on the couch in the basement of Morse Loop and watching movies with you and Becca and Mandy. And Goonies was definitely one in our rotation pretty regularly. And
I was on repeat.
Oh yeah, I love that. And again, we'll talk about this in greater detail, both the movie and the song. But I love that sequence where they're riding the bikes. It's like the start of the adventure, and it's just here we are hanging on the strands of green and blue, and it just gets me going every single time. So, what about you? What's your favorite 80s song, Erin?
I did pick a song as well.
Okay.
And disclaimer, a lot of these categories, it is so difficult to pick a singular favorite.
Yeah.
But song I know. My favorite song, and I think it embodies the whole 80s, is Take On Me by a-ha.
Classic.
I remember sitting around, we would watch videos with our mom, which was maybe a little weird, but we'd watch a lot of VH1 and MTV, and that video sticks out. Obviously, it's a great video, but it's also a really good song, and it does the same, gives me the same just warm, fuzzy feeling and remembering the 80s.
Yeah, and that one's easy. What a classic video, too, with the animated style, like the sketch animations that they're like kind of coming in and out of. And that is a really weird thing, and we'll probably talk about our mom a lot in this show. But our mother is very Christian and nowadays just listens to gospel music on YouTube. So it is weird to think about us like dancing and listening to music and watching MTV videos with her back in the early 80s.
Yeah. Papa Don't Preach. I remember all those. Like a Prayer.
Michael Jackson, Beat It, all that stuff. Yeah. I can very, very vividly remember that. Bismarck, North Dakota comes into mind, that house there in particular, down in the not the basement, but the first basement. Whatever you want to call it. Right. That was a weird house. It had like 4 levels. Yeah. But I can very vividly see, and I mean, I was like, I don't know, it was like 4, and I could still kind of picture that living room set up.
4th, 5th grade for me. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, cool. So that's the first segment that we'll be doing. And the next segment is cereal / food. Now, what I mean by this is obviously cereal is a integral part of any child from the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
Here we are recording this on a Saturday morning. It makes me think of, I wish I had a bowl of cereal right now and we could watch some Saturday morning cartoons. Watch the Smurfs and the Snorks. Not the Snorks. Chipmunks. Yeah. He-Man, all that stuff, which we will talk more about in great detail. But that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about cereal or food. And my favorite cereal from the 1980s was S'mores Crunch, which they have recently remade, and I have not had since they've remade it. But do you remember that cereal?
Yes, I do. And I've had the remade one. It's very sugary, but good.
And obviously it's been a long time, but did it transport you? Did you feel like, yeah, they nailed it? This is that cereal from the 80s.
Not really, because I don't remember eating that one a lot in the 80s.
I see. I remember that one, and I remember the ice cream cone cereal.
Yes.
I remember those two the most, like very 80s specific cereals. But what I loved about the S'mores Crunch is it basically had Golden Graham pieces, which is one of my favorite cereals. And then like marshmallows and then little chocolate bits too. So it was like Golden Grahams plus.
The best of all of it, yes. It's funny you say that because Golden Grahams is my favorite, which is kind of funny, I think, because it's not really tied to a cartoon character or mascot. I can't think of one anyway, but I loved Golden Grahams.
Right.
That was my favorite.
Well, we'll definitely have to cover a lot of different cereals, obviously. So that's for your list, though, for this one is Golden Grahams?
And Pop-Tarts. I remember eating Pop-Tarts a lot while watching Saturday morning cartoons, so yes.
What was your favorite Pop-Tart flavor?
The vanilla. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. It's like
it had a chocolate crust with vanilla filling and vanilla icing. They don't make it anymore, and I wish they did. It's probably good they don't, but... They
make one called Cookies and Cream, which is the closest to it, but it's not the same. It's definitely not the same recipe. Those things were so freaking good. No. I would crush one of those right now. Would you ever eat them untoasted, or were you strictly toasted girl?
Oh no, anyway. Toasted, untoasted.
Okay.
Dipped in milk, though, is my favorite. Toasted, dipped in milk.
you nasty like that.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, well, let's keep on moving on. We'll get in greater details of those things, like I said, in the future, I'm sure. The next category or segment that we will be doing is toys. Now, I'm going to exit the 80s for a moment and go into the 90s, because that is, like I said, we're going to be nostalgia from the 80s and 90s and beyond. So for the 90s, there was a toy called Mighty Max, which was the male version of Polly Pocket. And if for those of you that don't know, it basically was like a little compact like playset that you opened up, and Mighty Max and like these little monsters and stuff were really tiny, and you would just move them around. There was little secret passages and little secrets and things that you do. And then there was this big castle that they built of it. And I had a lot of the play sets, and I definitely had the big castle as well. They made a cartoon of it. They probably made a cereal of it, if we're being honest. But I don't think I ever watched the cartoon. But for some reason, the just the miniatures and the little hidden passages and stuff always got to me. So that was.
I remember.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was a little after your time, so you definitely weren't playing with toys. And do you remember my play sets though, in that like castle?
I think so. Were they magnetized on the bottom?
No,
you could stick them on.
They probably should have been.
Maybe. Yeah.
They just had like little areas where you could like stand them down in the play sets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Polly Pocket.
Like Polly Pocket. Yeah. What was your favorite toy from the 80s or 90s or beyond?
This one was really difficult for me because I had so many, and I loved my Cabbage Patch dolls, but I think my favorite that I remember playing with the most was My Little Ponies. So same thing, Mandy, our sister, and I had the castle, we had the little nursery, I had the beauty parlor. We would set everything up. They had clothes, shoes. So we would do their hair, their manes and tails, and there were actually a couple little dolls too that we played with, and then they had the baby ponies and the sea ponies, and yeah, all of that.
What was your favorite pony?
I think it was the one that came with the castle. Her name was Majesty. She was white with blue hair.
Yeah. And what was on her butt?
It was like little, not really stars, but you know can't think of what they are. The 50s kind of
like diamond sparkles.
Yeah, the word escapes me, but yeah,
I know what you mean. I actually believe that I had a My Little Pony as well, so that I could play with my two older sisters, and I believe I had Applejack.
You did, and I loved Applejack too.
Which Applejack was a female. I don't think they made male ponies at the time. I don't know if they do now. They probably do.
Nothing.
But I think it was the most male presenting pony at the time. So I think that's why.
At that time, that was really early on. Like you got that one, I think you're like 3. So
yeah, exactly. This is also the kid that asked for a Barbie refrigerator for Christmas. So, you know,
specifically, I think refrigerator, but yeah.
Well, that's what you get when you have two older sisters and you just want to play with them. So, I think that's it there. What is our next segment going to be? It's going to be stores or restaurants. So obviously there are some very 80s specific stores, like in the malls and things of the 80s, but then also some restaurants that didn't necessarily open in the 80s or are just specific to the 80s, but remind me of the 80s or we liked them during that time period. And for me, it's Taco Bell.
Really?
I don't know why, but that stands out, at least as a fast food restaurant, stands out in my mind. I loved going to Taco Bell, and I look at pictures on the internet sometimes and see like the retro designs of fast food restaurants. And when you come across one from the 80s and just that like green and yellow and orange and brown, like it's just like, dang. Which now that I think about it, were those colors supposed to represent the ingredients of a taco? Was that supposed to be a shell, meat, tomato, and lettuce? And or cheese?
Yellow too.
Well, cheese, yeah. Yeah, that's a cheese, man. Anyway, but when you see that, it just, to me, I get a very nostalgic feeling. And I don't even know, like from like a restaurant menu item, I'm sure I just ate like hard tacos. I don't know. I could tell you what I like now, but that's a conversation for another day when we do a deep dive on the differences in Taco Bell then and now. But yeah, that for some reason really stands out to me. Oh, so the cinnamon twists.
Oh yeah.
Actually,
now back then
they used to
had the
crisps, right?
Crispies.
Yeah, they look like chips, but like puffy cinnamon sugar chips, right?
Yeah, for better, I feel. But
heck yeah.
Now I remember Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut stands out to me as that nostalgic. And Book It, obviously. Yeah. I like to read, and if you read so many books, you got a free personal pan pizza. So that was probably my favorite. Taco Bell isn't there, but
and the best part is you didn't even really have to read the books. You just had to say you did. And guess what? They still gave you pizza.
They did. I actually read the books. I did.
I did too. I've always liked to read though. So
yeah. You have a store, like a retail store?
Deb? No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
I KB's being the mall.
KB Toys?
The toy store?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Obviously has gone the way of the dodo. Thanks to Amazon.com. Curse you, Bezos. But yeah, that is a good one. Yeah, we should definitely do an episode on like Toys R Us versus KB Toys or something like that. I like it. The next category is probably my favorite category, video games. Why don't you start us off with this one? What was your favorite video game from the 80s or 90s?
Okay. Of all time, I don't know. It's so hard. I'm gonna have to say Shadowgate though.
Ah,
If you asked me 80s, it would be different. If you asked me later 90s, it would be different. But of all time, I feel like that's the one we spent a lot of time. Like you can hear the music from it now, and it
oh
just
yeah,
takes you back.
oh yeah, instantly.
I tried to play it recently, and the graphics are terrible. But back then, you kind of imagine the world you were in the castle, and you were down into caverns, and
Oh yeah,
I
man,
don't know, you could just purely.
you were inside Castle Shadowgate, like absolutely. I
And I
100%
like the role playing fantasy kind of games. So
right. Yeah, no, I agree. That's a
it's hard to
classic.
choose. Mhm.
What'd you say?
It's hard to choose, but
Hmm.
I'm going to go with that one for now.
Yeah, I think that for me, it's similar, and I thought about this a lot, and there were three on my list that I was really trying to decide from, but I'm going to go with Maniac Mansion for similar reason.
Well, yes.
It is, also a point and click adventure game, probably the first point and click adventure game that I really, really got into. Well, Shadowgate too, I guess, but one of the first of that style. Where it just felt like you could do almost anything in this mansion, and there's just these weird people, and what's up with the meteor, and it seemed like all kinds of different random events would happen, even though it's very scripted and timed. But just like, wow, what's going to happen this time? And you choose the kids, and you can do different stuff with the different kids. So there's different ways to beat the game, and ways to screw yourself out of being able to beat the game, depending on who you bring with you. But yeah, that's to me, and that basically LucasArts games spawned Day of the Tentacle and a bunch of other point and click adventure games that I really, really enjoyed. Monkey Island, all that stuff, like became some of my favorite games, my favorite genre of games for sure. So it kind of started all, and the music too. Like I hear the music and boom, I'm back in the 80s, baby. All right. So, next segment is also going to be one of my favorites, movies/TV shows.
And that's one of the hardest to narrow down.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, what are you thinking?
I have an all-time favorite. I'm gonna knock stuff over. Princess Bride. That's gotta be my all-time favorite.
Where's Princess Bride back here? Princess Bride. Oh, I've already knocked over Princess Bride.
Your book's back there too behind.
Yeah. There's also a pack of cards up there by the book. I don't know if you can see it or not, but yes, Princess Bride is my favorite as well on my list. I keep knocking it over as well. But yeah, it's got everything. Pirates, adventure, monsters, giants.
Yeah.
I wish I could quote that better, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah.
So is that your all-time favorite or like your favorite from the 80s?
It might be my all-time favorite.
It's kind of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough. You can see some of my other favorites behind me here. Labyrinth, and Neverending Story and Goonies and others. But I'd say
We'll talk about.
Say what?
Which we will talk about.
Oh yeah.
Later episodes.
Oh yeah. Each of those deserving of an episode of their own, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm going to sneak one in on you here. I didn't give you this category, so you might have to think for a moment. And actually, I'm not sure that I have an answer to this. But it is a category that Kira recommended, which is literature. So that can cover comic books, regular books, other such things from the 80s. So I was trying to think, obviously I was reading a lot of children's books at the time. And of course, I know I read a ton of Berenstain Bears, those types of books. So, there may be some merit to doing like some historical research into that and just having a conversation around those kind of books. But Babysitter's Club for you, I know you guys. What'd you say?
Yes. I said, I'm a book lover, so I think that's a good category. We should
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
that one in. Yeah, Babysitter's Club, Beverly Cleary, all of those books.
Yep.
Like Ramona.
Yep. Completely
I
agreed.
think I like the Little Golden Book from childhood.
Right.
The monster at the end of this book, Grover.
Oh man, that's one of my all-time favorite books to this day. I reference that more than I probably should as an adult. But all right, cool. Well, that's a good laying the ground baseline kind of entry of where we're coming from with these categories and kind of what you can expect. And again, there's a ton of books, a ton of movies, a ton of video games, a ton of TV shows, food, cereal, all kinds of stuff. So, and the food and cereals might be at smaller segments within bigger episodes about video games and movies and stuff like that. But still, I think if we're going to be nostalgia historians, food is a big part of that too. So
it is. It really is.
Any other
Can
thoughts?
I ask you one question?
Yes, please.
We mentioned movies, but not really TV shows. And I know that, it's entertainment, but I feel like it's separate. So do you have a favorite TV show? This one was difficult for me too.
Maybe like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
So like cartoon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely going to be cartoon. Well, I don't know. I like Alf a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. What about you?
It depends on the time we're talking about because like up through second grade, probably Punky Brewster. But overall, I was thinking Facts of Life kept popping up. I think that was my favorite.
Those kind of
as a young girl, I really listened to that a lot. So
yeah, that definitely popped into my mind for you. I had a feeling that was going to be up there. Didn't we? We did an episode on Punky Brewster, didn't we? I think we did.
I feel like we did, or at least, yeah.
I think we did a whole episode on it because I think it's like the episode title was something like Punky Brewster Don't Do Drugs or Punky Brewster on Drugs or something like that. I don't remember, but this is going to be on our YouTube channel. But we're going to do an audio version of this as well. So definitely check us out wherever you get your podcasts. I'll put links in our social media, so and obviously in the YouTube as well. So it'll be clearing up the past pretty much and everything. So you can check us out on Facebook, Instagram. You can email us at clearingupthepast@gmail.com. There'll be more social media. We may do a Patreon, those kind of things. And I know this is also an audio medium, but we might give away these on our Patreon. A little keychain, Clearing Up the Past. How about that? So we got some things in the pipeline as we kind of develop. But please, we want to hear from you. So follow us, send us messages, recommendations. What are your favorites in some of these categories? Put those in the comments, like, subscribe, all that jazz. And more good things to come. And I'll probably repost the episodes that we did previously before we were even clearing up the past. But then even once we started calling it Clearing Up the Past, I think we've got 5 or 6 or 7 episodes. So those will come out. You can listen to them now in the podcast, and I'll put links to that. But those will go onto the YouTube channel as well eventually. So anything else, Aaron? Anything else you want to talk about? What you're wanting to do with this podcast going forward, or anything like that?
No, I'm looking forward to having some special guests from time to time. Our sister, maybe, and getting the input of some other people too. So.
Yeah, no, that would definitely be good. I heard Ewan McGregor wants to come on, so that would be good.
I mean, if we can work in it, I don't.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I almost said somebody who's dead. Never mind. I'm just going to stop before I. We'll have John Candy on the show. That'll be crazy. Just kidding. All right. Well, until next time, Nostalgia Nerds, I've been Millennium Dave.
I've been Gen Xie.
When you're feeling lost in the fog of the modern mundane, don't fear.
Because we're clearing up the past.